All right, welcome to another installment of the Life Happens podcast. Your host Ryan Dotz here with co-host Shawnee Mac. Sean, how we doing?
Doing great, doing great.
That makes me happy. You know what makes me happy? We're
What?
talking about we're talking about money, baby.
Money makes me happy, I'll be honest. It's not
Money
supposed
make
to, but it does.
money makes me happy.
Yeah.
We're talking about money. We're talking about where it came from, where it's going, and all the in between. So right now, there are currently 180 registered currencies in the world, ranging from the US dollar to 239,346. It's not accurate, but it's a big ass number for the Venezuelan Bravilian.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know
What
how to
Ryan's
pronounce
telling
it.
you is that $1 is worth over 200,000 Brazilian dollars, essentially. A
Little bit of a gap. We'd be
little bit
ballers
of a
in
gap.
we'd be ballers in Venezuela. But
Yeah, but it costs like 50K to buy a banana, so
that's true. That's true. It's all relative.
big money.
So the question is with, 180 currencies, we have the introduction of crypto, which is what everybody's talking about, Dogecoin and whatever else. And also
Buzzwords.
all the buzzwords, all the triggers. And also the introduction of, Venmo, PayPal,
Yeah.
Apple Credit, all digital, all everything. Um, where the hell are we going?
I don't know, but I think it's super interesting to have a conversation about it, which is why I'm really excited for this one. Uh,
Yeah,
Everybody uses money. We all transact with money. All of us in the United States use the US dollar for everything. We don't really think about it that much. No one likes to really talk about uh, money as a theory. Everyone loves to talk about money. Everyone wants to get rich and buy shit. But like when you're talking about money
accurate.
and things like how it works, it can be a little droll. But we're getting to the point now where money's all digital. It's like to quote McConaughey in Wall Street, it's Fugazi, it's Fugazi, right? It's all made up. Fairy dust. So it's very interesting to talk about because with money going digital, the control of money shifts hands. When you have your money in your hand, when you have that suitcase full of $100,000 that somebody just handed you, you possess and control that money. As we go around with digital currencies and all of these other companies controlling your money, it's a little out of your hands. And that's where things are
Literally.
starting to get real interesting. Excuse me.
See, you're getting all choked up just talking about
No, it happens.
it.
And so, we've all seen an explosion with this, with the basic apps that we all use, like Ryan mentioned. Everybody knows Venmo, right? Apple's got their Apple Pay, they got their Apple credit card now, which was a super smart move on their part. Excuse me, getting into that space to make money. But so everybody's got a card. Everyone's doing it because they're all making money off of it.
Uh,
So you're going to say something there?
I thought you were gonna cough to death.
No.
Get up. Yeah, I mean, at
I
the end
think
of
I'm
the day,
good.
like you just said, like as a guy who never has cash on him because when the hell do you ever get cash? My card works for everything. I can
Same.
tap, I can go. There really is no need for it. I remember actually, and we thought it was silly. Your father would collect pennies because he said one day they'll be obsolete. Now we're talking about the actual paper currency. You know that
Yeah.
10 that they turn from green to brown? Yeah, we're gonna get rid of it. Well, we're
Yeah.
not,
And
but
well, we are eventually. And that's what's interesting because when the money's not literally circulating, physically circulating, it all just exists on a ledger somewhere. It's all just a debit and credit somewhere on a balance sheet, but it becomes intangible. You know what I mean? Like literally by definition, you can't touch it. It's intangible. But because of that, you think about it in a different sense. Like you almost think
mhm.
about digital money in a different sense than you think about hard cash, physically holding cash. You might spend $100 differently online than you would spend $100 bill. I don't know why, but some people act like that.
So there's the exact comparison to that is people always wonder why they give you chips at a casino is because you're not holding cold hard cash to give it across on the table or put it down on the line. It's the chips. It's a green chip. It's a blue chip.
This
It doesn't
one
matter.
chip,
It's
25
one
bucks,
chip.
just this little chip.
You're good. And the transition between a slot machine when you had to put quarters in versus where you just have to press a button, the revenue was up at like 3 or 4 fold just because you didn't have to timing didn't have to physically put it in, and two, it was just a number on a screen. And I think that's where we are drastically trending. Like
And
sprinting
that's
towards
where
it.
we're going. And a lot of people are scared that inflation is coming. We've talked about inflation before. You go back on another episode and watch it. But basically, the
So
value of
pet-
the dollar gets destroyed a little bit every year due to the inflation of the money supply, more or less. So your dollar's worth 2% less every year. What $100 buys you this year, $98 buys you next year. Other way around. Sorry, it costs you 102 next year.
right.
Um, anyway, the point there being, when everything's digital and you're not feeling it, you lose the sense of what $100 means. You lose the sense of that $100 bill and how much money that is over time, because it just becomes a number on a screen, much like the decimal points in the casino, like Ryan was talking about when you spin in the slot machine. So that allows more control over the money by those who control it, because we are all less tied to it in a given number, a given sense.
Right. There's only one person that can control it. And with cold hard cash, it's you. But with a number on a screen, it's definitely not you.
Exactly. And that's where we get into a little bit of gray area. So we've all been very trusting, I think, as a society with the adoption of technology. We all openly accepted Venmo, Apple Pay. Everyone uses Apple Pay that I know.
Venmo's
Google
the
Pay has
best.
been a thing for a while. Yeah. And we all pretty openly trust these guys, even though at first a lot of them weren't banks, right? Like Apple makes cell phones. Venmo, I think, was Venmo the PayPal thing originally,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah. Venmo's on my PayPal. Yep.
or somebody, School might be Square. Either way,
They bought the IP.
so they were all tech companies, but they weren't, finance companies. They weren't banking companies, but we were all very trusting with them, and I think that's interesting. But they're private companies, and when it's a private company, you have a choice to up and leave that company and go to a different one if you don't like the service or the offering. Where we're getting into now, which is where I think most people don't realize, and where I find it very interesting, is there is a bill in front of Congress that will allow our Federal Reserve, the central bank, to create a digital wallet for every citizen that can be filled with digital dollars. And while at face value, that sounds interesting, keep in mind you can't reject it. They have the right to do it on your behalf, so they can create a wallet for you. They can put money on it. And again, that sounds great. But where we get to the interesting part is when you think about the level of control that the government would have at that point of time over your money. So let's consider they continue on with like stimulus, and they try and keep buying votes through continued stimulus and things of that nature.
We have to stop doing that. But yeah.
Which is not like completely out of the realm of possibility. It's a little far fetched, but like it's not crazy.
Nothing's crazy anymore based on the last year. Nothing's off the table.
No, and exactly. So like, let's say, and some people argue this is a good thing. So they can stimulate the economy through putting money in your wallet, your digital, your central bank digital wallet. They would just say, all right, we're doing next round of stimulus, $500 in everybody's wallet, but it goes away if you don't spend it in a week. And that's where I think, because that's been a big problem, and we're not going to get into it because it's like way too complex, but the changeover in money, they call it the velocity of money, how quickly $1 gets used again in our economy, has gone off the cliff because no one's going out and doing shit with money due to the pandemic. So money's not turning over, and that's what the government is trying to fight against. So they want to get money out there. They want to get it circulating. So
online sales, all that shit, like online sales didn't like the online markets and shit like that didn't kind of counter
online sales picked up, but I don't think it replaced the money that's generally spent in the normal use of, even though it's only like 5% of transactions or whatever, even though that
percent. Do you mean physical money? You mean physical money?
I mean the physical turnover money.
Okay, because online's not going to help that. That's unfortunate.
I think what most people saw for the first time was how fragile that system is when like you went to a 7-Eleven and they had signs that you had to use exact change or they couldn't give you change during the pandemic. That's because the money. That was because the money wasn't turning over, that they couldn't even get it from like Brink, the money pickup people, change out their state. Like you couldn't get it from the bank.
Shout out Brink.
Shout out Brink. They always came on time. And so that's where we get into an interesting theory and discussion. And again, I get at face value, it sounds great, right? The government's putting free money on your card and you have to spend it by the end of the week. Like, so cool, let's free shit.
So let's talk about that for a second. The
bill it's just a theory.
The bill there's a bill in front of Congress. Hold on a second.
Okay, yeah. So the bill in front of Congress
that's a legitimate thing.
That's a legitimate thing. It's already been under review. It would allow our central bank
which is
to
obviously
create.
snuck under the radar because we're talking about X, Y, and Z. We're talking about stimulus packages.
Oh
We're talking
yeah, no
about
one's. It's
everything else, and nobody's listening to this shit.
I've never seen it mentioned, not on CNBC. I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere, but whatever. But it's under review in Congress, and it would allow our central bank, the Federal Reserve, to create a digital wallet for every U.S. citizen. This digital wallet would be under their control, and they could load and also take away funds, not your funds, but any funds that they load on there. They could also take back, kind of at will. It would be as though our Federal Reserve is your direct bank. And they could give you cash. They could make you spend it in a certain amount of time. They would have complete control and autonomy because they're the ones who pretty much make the money.
So the Fed is going to become a commercial bank.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. They're not going to, they're not going to be charging overdraft fees and things of that nature. Because
that's the thing. You don't know if that's built into the bill. That's what I'm saying. Honestly, that's my biggest thing about this. Like, so
you're
basically,
right. I don't.
When Sean says, when you say digital wallet, right? I think of my Apple Wallet, which in and of itself is insane. But my cards are in there. Everything's hooked into the bank. It's not even hooked to cards, which if I didn't want to have service anymore, I just fucking get a new card. It's now hooked into my actual bank account, which is terrifying. But now the federal government is gonna give me a digital wallet, much like that, and there's going to be money on it. You can use it if you want to within X amount of time. And
potentially, these are potential things they could do with the wallet.
Well, we're talking about the future of money, so we can make up whatever we want. So, like, if they put it on the card, you don't use it, they take it back. Fine. My first thought, the first thing I think of is taxes. Like, that has to qualify for an income tax, a federal income tax. That's what I'm saying. And also, like, I'm sure that there's some legal jargon in that 600-page bill that, says X% over X amount of time, or I'm just trying to defend the, your average American who I'm fortunate enough that I'm lucky enough to not have to get or didn't qualify for a stimulus check. Right now, if that happens to me and I get it on my card, it's, there's no way you can opt out, like, and then XYZ and it snowballs and all this other shit. And also the money that you're putting on the digital card, how does that affect, like, because interest rates are already at zero, but we're not technically printing money. So
I don't know, because it would have to be an increase in the money supply. The dollars would have to come from somewhere. They'd have to be funded from somewhere. So I don't know the logistics of how they'd make it all happen. But that's the concerning part, is this printing. It would be printing of money, but it wouldn't quite feel like it. So they could kind of like do what they want and get away with a lot more.
And that's the scariest part.
That's the scariest part is one, the lack of control, because it's all just the government. You don't have another option. You can't leave one. You can't leave Apple and go to Google. There isn't anybody.
Right.
So that's scary in and of itself. Lack of options. One option, and it being the government, again, kind of sounding a little Russian.
But it's true now, especially at this point. Like, it's like, oh, government wants to help you. It's like, what the fuck have they done for me lately? Now you're gonna, digital wallet, like all this shit. It's like, oh, thanks for coming up with all of that. Now the 500,000 dead and everyone's out of work, but now they won't go back to work because you've already been paying them actual cash. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
It's crazy. The biggest problem in the restaurant industry right now, biggest thing I hear from clients, is that they can't find staff. People will not go back to work. They cannot get people to come back to work in restaurants right now.
I have a friend who manages a Domino's, and they close at 10 p.m. every night because they have no drivers. They have no staff, zero. Stores closed for entire days.
Yeah, you cannot get staff in restaurants right now. It's crazy, and it's all because of these incentive programs. So that's what we're talking about. It sounds great, right? Free money, but like, you don't think about the fact that free money is actually holding back our economic recovery twofold. Correct. At first, it's money that the government is spending now that it doesn't have. So taking on debt in the future to spend that money, which we as taxpayers are on the hook for. So that's
at the end of the day, we're on the hook for it all.
That's bad. And then on top of that, they're also incentivizing people to stay home and not go out and produce in the economy. So the restaurants that want to open up cannot. I tell you, this is a fact. I hear it from clients every day. The restaurants want to open up at full capacity. They can't because they can't get staff, because people can make more money not working. And that is a direct result of government action. So The government is stifling the economic recovery that could be happening right now that we have the virus kind of under control. And that's the shit they'd have more control over if we move forward with these app ideas or the digital central bank digital wallet, calling them CBDCs to be short, if you want to be fancy.
We're seeing,
and that's people don't take that next step in the thought experiment. That's why we're here, because we gotta take that next step.
This is one of the first things that we talked about when we started this program was the downfall of the actions taken to help or support Americans through this pandemic. Was every action has an equal but opposite reaction, and we're seeing it now. It's like, dude,
and we're gonna be seeing it for the rest of our lives unless they inflate it away.
1 year.
I don't know what it's gonna look like for us in 20 years when we're our parents' age.
We'll still be feeling it, to say the least.
Social Security is going to go bust. Medicare is going to go bust. Like what's going to happen at that point? Like when they have to print money to fund Social Security in 20 years, like what happens then?
That's all going to have to be just terminated, and it's just going to have to happen. It is what it is. Like what our generation is going to have to take the brunt of all of this, but
yeah,
at the end of the day,
but we'll deal with that when we get there. But all of this,
we'll come up with something else.
All of this is really just governments trying to play catch up to the cryptocurrency craze. Like, they just hear digital currency. People think cryptocurrency. People demand things to be going on with cryptocurrency, whether they understand them or not. And that's kind of forced the hand of these central bankers who feel as though they have to act. They have to do something digitally, or they're going to be lost by the wayside. All they have is physical cash. They're a one-trick pony, and the automobile's coming to town, and they don't know what to do. So they're like,
"That was very well said."
Oh shit! I guess. Thanks. I guess we'll do one too, right? Like shit, we'll create a cryptocurrency.
Which is an insane statement, by the way.
But it's pretty much what they're doing.
Yeah, literally.
Some people have dubbed it the Fed coin.
The Fed coin, I love it.
That's probably not what they'll call it, but that's what people on the interwebs they like to.
I like that
name it shit. The Fed coin. I know it's got a little ring to it. Your Fed coins are here.
Everybody Fed coin.
I think it's interesting because they're all chasing digital currencies, but the digital currencies that exist right now that people talk about, I don't consider them money. Like Bitcoin to me is not money.
No.
I'm not saying that Bitcoin isn't worth a certain amount of money, a certain number of dollars. I agree with that. I'm saying Bitcoin doesn't work to act as a medium of exchange, and that's what money is.
Correct. And I agree with that. And it's actually kind of crazy that you can see, like, I mean, specifically like gambling websites and stuff. Like, everybody knows I'm a degenerate gambler, so let's relax. Like, but those sites are now taking Bitcoin.
Oh, of course they are.
They're accepted. They'll take
it's like laundered money.
You could put your shoes on a counter and they'll be like, yeah, $5, and they'll give you the $5. It's a worldwide pawn shop, basically. And that's kind of what's terrifying, right? So you have the 180 physical currencies in the world. You have crypto.
So many cryptocurrencies now.
But there's so many different types. They're not types. They're more brands. What do you want to call them? Like,
no, they're just different coins. You call them different. They're all coins. Yeah, they're different coins.
Coin shortage, my ass. There's coins all over the place. You know what I mean?
Digital, not physical.
Only digital. And it's like they're so volatile. Like, how is this transition going to take place?
And that's why that's where I think people don't get it. That's why the crazy zealots who you find on social media talking about Bitcoin is the money of the future. It makes zero sense right now to transact in Bitcoin. Except for one peak, the price continues to go up damn near nonstop. So to pay someone with something, if I'm going to pay you with a $100 bill and tomorrow that $100 bill is worth $150, it's fucking stupid to pay you with it today.
Yeah.
I'd rather just hold on to it tomorrow and make the $50.
Yeah.
So with Bitcoin, it's so volatile that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense as a buyer or a seller. I don't want to use this. I was going to say, I don't want to use this to buy because I think it's going to be worth more tomorrow. And as the seller, as the receiver, you don't know what it's going to be worth. So there was this one story early on in the days of Bitcoin, this one dude who sold his house in Bitcoin, at the peak of the bubble. So he sold his house for $20 million in Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin plummeted. And
That's
his house
kick in
was
the
worth
pants.
the equivalent of like $1 million. His house was cut in like 1/20th, and because it was priced in Bitcoin, and like that, that's why it's
did he
not a good
hold on to
medium
the
of.
Bitcoin though?
Hopefully he did. That
Yeah,
he'd be
hopefully he
okay
did
now.
I
But
thought
that's
you were
why
gonna
it's
go
not a
with like.
good.
Sorry,
No,
I
I
thought
was
you were
just
gonna
gonna
go
say.
with the guy that sold his stock in Apple, like right before it's the guy who like got the initial shares and then
Yeah,
he sold it for like $10 and then Apple took off.
Wayne. What was his name? Wayne. I don't remember. His
But
first
he
name's
went the
Wayne.
other
I
way
know
with
that.
it, and the guy got buried.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what's interesting. So to me, cryptocurrencies aren't money. They don't make sense to act as money.
No,
It doesn't make sense to transact in Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of the top cryptocurrencies.
and they don't really
So
apply
that
to
they
society.
can be a store of value, but that's what people consider money. That's what they hear people talking about money, and then the central banks chase after that. They're like, we need to do this now, and then but that would again that gives them this level of control that I'm simply not comfortable with, and I think having the options as a citizen of being able to patron whatever private company you like or appreciate is the beauty of living in a free country.
Yeah.
Of being able to say, I screw you, BOA, you guys are awful, I hate you, I'm going to Chase. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
But this is moving towards a world where that option does not exist for you. And so again, I understand at face value, free money sounds great, but it's like somebody dangling a carrot in front of your face. Like you got to look at the bigger picture a little bit and think, all right,
Yeah.
what is this going to change in my life long term?
Right.
And for me, it raises some red flags, and I have some concerns about it.
I honestly think that like exactly like the people that are making these laws, and I feel like this has been a tradition for a very long time. Don't look that far ahead because they're fucking a billion years old, and
They
there
also
is
only
no
look as far as their term limit
yeah. Like
or term.
I'm good. Like it'll be fine at that point. Like it doesn't really matter because
Bro, I got to leave in 8 years.
yeah. What are we gonna do? But even like yeah, it's wild. Like how do you feel kind of changing? Well, we'll end on this because I think it's a pretty big question, right?
No, I got one more I want to touch on.
Go nuts.
So what I find interesting is in the investment community in finance world, people consider the government printing money to be, inflation, consider inflating the money supply, meaning the things you buy cost more dollars. And when that happens, a lot of people, it's very common in the investment community to buy commodities, things that tend to hold their value well. Two are gold and silver. Most people know that
The foundation of the market, really.
They've heard of Fort Knox, right, where all the gold in the U.S. is stored and all that fun stuff. The dollar used to be backed by gold. We all know that. We talked about that way back in like episode 1.
Great episode.
What happens to gold? Great episode. What happens to gold in the future? Because there's still people here right now who consider gold money, who remember a point in time when the U.S. dollar was backed by a certain amount of gold. In the ever increasing digital world, what happens to these people who are still clinging to that idea that gold and silver are money? Coming from somebody who
they just
has invested in both, right? Like what happens to that? Because they both have industrial value, gold and silver, but not enough to support their price. Their price is where it is because people invest in it.
Right.
And I'm curious what happens to all those old school people who have entire funds. There's guys who run hedge funds solely built on investing in gold. Like, what happens to those guys in the future? I feel like the generation below us,
there is no
couldn't give a shit about a bar of gold.
No.
Like, wouldn't even be interested in buying it off of you.
Didn't know the dollar was backed by gold at any point in time.
No. Do you want this bar of gold? Like, can I make it into jewelry?
Yeah.
You could, but it'd be a lot of work.
What are we doing here?
Like super heavy. It's like wicked uncomfortable to lug around, but
I think that, you're right on, right? So every country has its own currency. And then, with the influence of the internet, late 80s,
dude,
in every house
changed everything.
Let's say in every house, right? Let's say in every house, the internet, say 1995, 97.
No, keep going.
You think so?
You got to consider people on the other side of the less privileged, as we were talking about.
Oh, the rest of the world?
No, even here in this country.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's a good point. All right,
Everybody
so
didn't
let's
have
say
home internet in
2000.
'97.
No, 2000. Where was it? All right, so let's say 2000. Everyone had a family computer, right? At 2000.
Yeah, we're getting closer.
05?
Better than 95. Let's
05
go. Let's
05
go
on
05.
15. 05 on 15.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Let's,
Okay. Yeah. No, that's right.
yeah.
Oh
Let's
damn.
go 05.
Oh, that hurts. Yeah. So Jesus Christ. So think of all of the technological advances between '05 and 2021,
Dude,
and now double it down the line.
I have said it to anyone who will listen.
That is fucking. Well, you got
The
a show now.
the technological advancements of the last 10 years that we've seen, which have been incredible, are going to be so dwarfed by what we're going to see in the next 10 years. And I think that's
absolutely.
so fascinating and exciting, just based on how fast computer growth is exponential. It's just going to start growing faster. And we're going to look back on that first iPhone that came out 10 years ago. And like, granted, it was revolutionary, but the shit that we're going to have in the next 10
It
years
was
is going to,
revolutionary.
it's going to blow it out of the water. And I think there are more internet level moments to come in our future. And I think that's something some people don't realize. I find it very exciting and interesting. I think there will be further internet level things that happen that change our world with that level of magnitude. Probably not for a little while yet, but we're going to get there.
Yeah.
And
we'll. I mean,
that's
we're
wild.
not going to get
experience it.
We're not going to get it because we'll be old as shit, and we won't get like.
No, we're talking within the next 10 to 20 years. We'll be
older. I'll be good. I'll be fine with that.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
You'll get a handle on it. You might need to ask somebody for help.
So I was gonna say like, and it's funny. It's a little off topic. We won't go down. Actually, that'd be an interesting topic.
No, because it all relates to how you interact with money.
Right.
The way technology and money go hand in hand.
I think that there's no online police. Like there's no. I think
more internet regulation.
I think the rate of crime as these technological advances take place, like look at how far behind. Like you see Zuckerberg at a Congress like hearing or whatever, and he's just talking. And everyone's like, they don't get it. There's no laws against the shit that like they're doing because they can't agree on anything. Two, that what are we gonna do? We don't understand it. We don't know what like is going on. You know,
internet and tech regulation is a giant can of worms that we're going to have to open in another episode.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said. And it's
because it is an interesting one, though. Super interesting.
Absolutely. And we will do it. And money goes, as everyone knows, hand in hand with that. You know what I mean? Like, so the idea of, and
how about Facebook talking about creating cryptocurrency a year ago?
Facebook coin.
Facebook money.
FB coin. FBC.
Libra.
Just to wrap it up real quick, the concept of a universal currency, whether it's physical, digital, whatever, do you think that we are trending that way? Global, yes. Do you think that we are trending that way, or do you think we are moving further away, whether it be, again, digital, physical, whatever, we'll just call it money?
I feel both sides.
I broke them, people. I broke them.
I feel both sides of the argument. Technologically, we're moving more towards a world where we can have some sort of universal currency. Everything's made easier by advances in technology. So like the advances of crypto and everything and the more stable mediums of exchange, they help us go towards a world where we can have that. But at the same time, the world feels as somehow though it's being more and more divided. And I can't see the human aspect of that accepting it's us. The technology is there. I don't know if I can see us accepting the idea.
Walking away from the rest of the world, basically, because those second and third world countries are fucked.
It's hard to do universal currency because the people in the poorest of the poor countries, they have like no chance at that point in time, and they're going to be so incredibly
now.
I know, but it would almost be made worse. So I don't know. It's tough. I don't know that people can get there. I don't know that we as a society, as we are right now, are advanced enough to get to the point where we can have a global digital currency.
Oh, my parents and grandparents, they aunts, uncles, whatever. The idea of cryptocurrency, no, this doesn't. It just
Maybe
doesn't resonate. Like,
maybe our kids' generations, the next generation below us, kids born today in 2020, 2021, they might see a world where the discussion is on the table genuinely. I don't know that we will.
I don't know. I don't think we will either. But the idea is pretty interesting. I'm just thinking about how you would distribute that, how it would all imagine
all
getting
digital,
the one,
have to all
the,
be digital.
The
I
one
mean,
little, the one little coin for a third world country.
And that's where we're moving. So cash is going by the wayside. It's going away. That's what, like, we're going to talk about the future money just to put a bow on it. Cash is going away. That's happening.
Yeah,
Government's happy about that. So yeah, if you got any unique bills, hold on to them.
Hold on to them.
They still print $2 bills. You don't need to keep those. They're not worth more than $2.
They started again.
Fun fact.
They stopped and started. Sons of bitch. They need to start printing the $1,000 bill again. I'd love to have one of those.
I want the $10,000 bill to come back, right?
Didn't know it existed.
Getting in the drug business just so I can have a bunch of those.
A bunch of No,
that's why they stopped doing it. Anyway. So yeah, cash is going away. Everything's going digital. Cryptocurrency is not actually money. What other wrap-up notes do we have? And it's just be ready for change. Changes are coming. Technology is only going to continue growing at a more exponential curve. That ties directly into everything in our financial markets and everything to do with your dollars. Which one day in, I would say, our lifetime, you will no longer be able to hold. Those paper ones will be worthless.
Physical money. Yeah, that's
crazy. They'll do the same thing they did to gold. They will say those dollars are no longer legal tender. You may not use them. They are now just souvenirs. So for anybody with 100 grand in their mattress, you may want to reconsider.
Yeah, you may want to reconsider and turn those bad boys in. And while you're on their internet looking up Bitcoin and everything else, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a subscription at the Life Happens Podcast. It is Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, boom, and Podbean.
I mean, yeah, get us anywhere. Check us out. Like I said, go back, watch maybe some of our older episodes if you haven't before. Maybe you haven't listened to a few of the old ones. We got some gems back there. Go check one out. Share with a friend.
It's our early days when we couldn't figure shit out.
Perfect.
Awesome.
But thank you as always for listening. Yeah. Life happens.
Cheers.